Welcome to the Saturday Slam and Jam. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. On today's show, we're talking about which teams / players / front offices have the most pressure on them heading into the 2025-2026 NBA season. With me today is my good friend, Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi. And with us, we have the one, the only, Fred Katz of The Athletic. Fred, how's it going?
I was not told that Speer would be here.
Why are you bringing in these off-the-pod conversations, Fred?
Andrew, move it along.
Why you got to do this? Okay, we are going to talk about which players, teams, front offices will have the most pressure on them. We're starting with round one. Star players. Which
Andrew,
star
hold on.
player? What?
Hold on.
What?
I want to do this a specific way.
Okay, go ahead.
Because there's some of these you probably feel more or less confident about.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be nice for each of us to pick one category that we will lead off that we feel most confident about.
Okay.
So guest Fred Katz, which category? And to go over the categories real quick: star player, contender, young player, front office, and then wild card, where you can choose anything NBA related that wouldn't fall into one of those previous categories.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do I feel the most confident in my answer?
Yes.
I'm going to say star player.
Okay,
Ooh,
so
okay.
Fred is going to start with star player. Andrew, which category would you like?
Contenders.
Contenders. Okay, and I will take. I guess I'll go young player. Okay, so Fred, start us off. Now, this is the pressure draft. Pressure doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. If one was to spin it positively, we could say the opportunity draft, because a lot of these players, teams, and front offices have opportunities in front of them. But sometimes those opportunities can lead to a lot of pressure, which sounds negative, but maybe it's good. So, Fred, who, in your opinion, is the star player this upcoming season under the most pressure?
Can't make diamonds without some pressure, Alex.
That's right. I was trying to
make it
remember that
happen.
as I was saying it, but
Can't
couldn't
make it
remember
happen. Well, that's why you're potting with two other people.
Whew.
Even though I was told I'd only be potting with one other person, and then you just kind of showed up. All right. Which star is under the most pressure? My answer is Trae Young.
Yeah.
Because he is under pressure from a basketball standpoint and from an individual standpoint, like off the court. He's eligible for an extension right now. We've heard nothing on a Trae Young extension. That is very interesting to me about what the Hawks are doing. The Hawks were super aggressive this summer. I really like what they did. I've had some people try to talk me out of my excitement about the Hawks. I feel really good about what the Hawks did, forgetting about the picks trade that was lauded down the line. But just for this year's roster, what they've done is they've put together a ton of guys who complement Trae Young. Because if you're going to have Trae Young, a guy who is an incredible passer and had a great passing season last year, and I thought had a really good season, but obviously he's got his defensive deficiencies and he's not always super efficient. He's not always a phenomenal shooter, and his shot selection can be questionable at times. What you need is you want guys who can shoot, you want length, and you want defense around him. And they have surrounded him with a secondary playmaker in Jalen Johnson, who they started to give the ball to more last year and was looking really freaking good. Just 20, 10, and 5. And if he can stay healthy, he's excellent. He's athletic. He's long. Risa Shea, long, I thought showed really good defensive flashes last year. Dyson Daniels is one of the best defensive guards in the league, if not the best. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who they signed, one of the best defensive guards in the league. Those guys are going to be pests all around Trae Young. They've got a Okongwu, who's a switchable young guy and an underrated passer. They bring in Kristaps Porzingis, who everybody is assuming is just a zero because he was a zero in the playoffs. I don't really get why we're just assuming that because Kristaps Porzingis was sick, that he's just always going to be sick forever. I'm not saying that he's not going to be. I'm just saying that mystery means we don't know. So during the regular season last year, Kristaps Porzingis was like a 40-some-odd% three-point shooter on 6 attempts a game and was a great rim protector and was an awesome, great post-up player, actually. Was an awesome player. I don't see why Kristaps Porzingis coming off the bench can't be like phenomenal if he is physically okay, and he's another rim protector you can put behind another defender you can put behind Trae Young. This team has been built to fill in for the Trae Young deficiencies, And it has also been built in a way that if they decide the Trae Young deficiencies are still too great, they can move on from him either in a trade or by having him sign and trade with somebody else next summer or whatever else. Like, they can move on from him and they can fill in the gap with somebody else, and they can still have a pretty solid and competitive roster there. But there's a lot on Trae Young because he's got to figure out his future in terms of his contract. And I think he and the Hawks have to figure out if the two of them are going to continue this marriage with a team that is like, he's got guys that complement him. He's got guys who have the skill set and the talent to complement him.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. He was on my short list. Are you buying into the Hawks hype?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Are you thinking like 4th seed?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I think I might be thinking 4th seed. I haven't decided.
Okay.
I know I'm going. I know my top 3. Like, I know my top 3 is Cleveland, New York, Orlando. I'm deciding on my 4. I don't know if I want to go them or if I want to go Detroit or if I want to go Milwaukee just because Giannis is Giannis.
Yeah. So they're in the mix for a home court, though.
Definitely. And I think I might choose them to be 4th.
Do you know the last time they won more than 43 games?
Well, 2015? No, 2016.
Yeah, the 2015-16 season. So a decade ago. Because, it's so funny. Like, this team has just been in this narrow band of wins for like a half decade now. Every year winning like 41 games. And so now they have to make that jump from play-in fodder to a real playoff team. And I agree with you. I think it's a lot of it is falling on Trae Young because, as you mentioned, they built this entire roster around him. Finally, Andrew, who is your star player with the most pressure on them?
I've got Donovan Mitchell.
Very good choice.
Cleveland Cavaliers. I just think that the Cavs are in a spot where they need to go and win at a high level. They fired their coach, won 64 games last year. Kenny Atkinson led them, and then they didn't get any further in the playoffs. In fact, they lost in 5 to the Indiana Pacers, who we all respect and think are an amazing team. But when you win that many games, you only win 1 game in the second round. It's not great. And it's not all Donovan Mitchell's fault, but he is their best player. He is their team leader. Evan Mobley may take the best player mantle from him at some point, but he's the guy that's going to take the most shots. And I think that this guy's got to lead the Cavs at least get to the conference finals. But I think it's a disappointment for the Cavs and the Knicks, who I think will be mentioned later, that if they don't make it to the NBA Finals. I think they're that good. You're in a weak Eastern Conference. I think there's a ton of pressure on Donovan Mitchell, not only to get them to a certain point, but to kind of evolve his game a little bit. I think that they need him to be more of a facilitator. And so I think that Donovan Mitchell is under a lot of pressure, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are as well.
Andrew, to hammer that point home, because he was my second choice. Among active players who have made an All-Star game, Donovan Mitchell is tied with Joel Embiid for most 50-win seasons without a conference finals appearance.
Wow.
And we don't think of him in the way we think about Embiid, missing, never making a conference finals. But he's been on a lot of good teams too. There's Utah teams and now these Cavs teams. Okay, my pick, star player on the most pressure. This is a player who back in 22-23 season, this is the preseason, ESPN had him ranked as the 9th best player in the NBA. That was only 3 seasons ago. And I'm talking about Ja Morant, because since then, he has been suspended twice for gun incidents. He's struggled with injuries, including the season-ending shoulder injury that held him to 9 games in the 23-24 season. Last year, the Grizzlies implemented that new offensive system that was de-emphasizing him in the pick and roll. He averaged under 21 per game pre-All-Star break as he continued to deal with injuries. He did finally show some signs of life towards the end of the season. He averaged nearly 28 in 13 games post-All-Star break. But now entering this 3rd season since that top 10 ranking, his career and status as a superstar, it's at a crossroads. Like, his career arc feels more like an aging star, but he just turned 26.
Yeah.
He should be entering his prime. And with Desmond Bane gone, I think there's a lot of pressure on Ja to show signs that he can regain that form from seasons past. Because Right now, I feel like he's in this zone of NBA stars with guys like Joel Embiid and Zion, where the team's ceiling clearly hinges on their talent, but it's increasingly difficult to feel confident that the team's ever going to reach that ceiling because you just can't trust the star player to be on the court. And Memphis's near future, having any chance of being relevant, is entirely dependent on Ja being consistently good again. So we've had the suspension injury season. Last year we had the new offensive system season. I feel like it's time for Ja to be a superstar again. And so I think the pressure is on.
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, his third season, he was 7th in MVP voting. He won Most Improved Player. He was an All-Star, and he was All-NBA second team.
Yeah.
And if you just pause right there, you think, where is this all going? If you ask that question.
As a 23-year-old.
Yeah, you would have never guessed that this is where we end up.
I mean, Andrew, you'll appreciate that. You'll both appreciate this. I vividly remember this must have been 3 or 4 years ago. It was probably Shea's second season with the Thunder. So must have been like 4 years ago. I was talking to somebody with the Thunder, and that person said to me, like, why, just throwing it out there just as like a thought exercise. Why is John Morant better than Shea? Like, why is Shea looked at as worse than John Morant? And I was like, that's an interesting question. It was like kind of a hot take, but I was like, I like that take. That's a good take. And think about somebody asking that question with that tone 4 years later. Like, think about if somebody was like, why is Shea better than John Morant? Be like, well, I can give you a lot of reasons why.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see how those two careers have developed, similar, players from similar age ranges, similar generations, like very, very interesting. But it shows where John Morant was. Like, Shea's the MVP. It shows how Ja was thought about early in his career. And you're right, but between the suspensions and not just that, there have been some playoff flameouts. Like, in the fact that the Grizzlies have consistently struggled to have a good half-court offense. Like, the reason that they changed so many of their schemes and they changed their philosophies last year was based on the fact that they struggled in the half court so much. They were really good in transition when Ja got them out running, but they struggled so much in the half court, and that would hurt them when it came to the playoffs. And they needed to find a way to try to be better in the half court. And we'll never know if it would have worked because they abandoned that system when they fired Taylor Jenkins. But they need to find a way to be better in the half court. That hinges on Ja. That hinges on other people too. But now it disproportionately hinges on Ja after the Bane trade. And you're right. That's a really good pick. I like that.
And hey, you can buy low right now because BetMGM has her over-under at 40.5, which is still crazy to me. That's so
wild.
low. Okay, round 2. That was star players. Round 2, contenders. Andrew, starting with you, your selection. Who is a contender under the most pressure?
I'll start by reading a sentence that was written by a very important person from this organization. It says, our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. This pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. This team has put the expectation out there for themselves in the form of a press release. It's still up on Twitter right now. If you go to the New York Knicks Twitter at NY Knicks, there's a graphic that has like these giant orange quotes at the top that just spell it all out there. One, poor Tom Thibodeau, who did so much for the Knicks, who just gets booted out and gets this strange press release put out there. And then they say, hey, we want to win a championship. They do the most embarrassing coaching search in the history of the NBA, where it is leaked that they're trying to talk to all these different people, and it ends up just being kind of awkward. They hire Mike Brown. No shade at all to Mike Brown. I think is a very good coach. I think that he will help the Knicks in some ways this season. But is he a clear upgrade on Tom Thibodeau? I don't know the answer to that question. But I do know the Knicks are under a ton of pressure. The Pacers are gone. And now it's the Cavaliers. It's Who else are we afraid of? The Magic, who haven't really done anything in the playoffs yet. Like the Knicks need to go to the finals. Plain and simple. They need to go to the NBA finals. I thought they were going to the finals this past year. They weren't able to get past Indiana. Indiana's a good team, but now that team is gone. And the Knicks, who fired their coach with the purpose of winning a championship, have to go do that. Because really anything less than a finals appearance, I think, is probably a failure to them. And it's the expectation that they put on themselves. So I think that I've only mentioned these two teams at the top of the East, but to me, that's where a ton of pressure lies with both of them. And a lot of it is all these teams have been eliminated. Indiana gone. Boston's gone. Now what do? You got to go win.
And so, in your opinion, Andrew, would you say the Knicks have more pressure than the Cavs? I guess so, because you picked them.
I think so. I think the Knicks definitely have more pressure. I think they have more guys that are in their prime right now. And they made a coaching change with the purpose of winning a championship. You know, the Cavs changed coaches last year, and they didn't say, like, we're doing this so that we can go win the NBA championship. Like, no, I think it was just time for them to change coaches, and they found a guy who was a clear upgrade. And for the Knicks, they have stated it. They did it to themselves. And so now they have to go do it.
Okay, Fred, are you going to take the easy way out and just take the other Eastern Conference team, or do you have anyone else you'd like to talk about?
First of all, Andrew, that was very well said. And I have quoted that statement so many times in the last 2 months. It is unbelievable.
It's
to hear somebody else read it. It's weird. I've said it so many times that hearing you say it, I was like, am I talking right now? Like I'm confused as to what's happening here. I'm just so used to going on podcasts and reading that statement. It is wild after Tibbs just was so important in pulling that organization from the bottom to the top. It's one thing to make the move, but that statement was wild to me. You know what, Alex? I've always been a risk taker.
Ooh.
So I'm going to be really conservative on this and take the Cavs because I think it's the right answer.
Okay. All right.
And I will say the one thing, that is different between the Knicks and the Cavs is that the Knicks are singularly focused on winning a championship. However, they didn't say they're singularly focused on winning a championship in 2026. And the thing with the Knicks is the Knicks right now have a pretty clean cap sheet. Yeah. They are right now they're under the second apron. They're going to be able to keep this team together for a little while if they want to. So they're under the second apron. All of their main guys are 30 or under. Everybody from their top 7 is coming back. They're all 30 and under, or 30 or under. Everybody except for Mitchell Robinson is locked up for multiple years. Mitchell Robinson's on an expiring contract. They're under the second apron. Next year, they'll almost certainly go up into the second apron in 26, 27. And they have an opportunity, if they do their caps a certain way, which I bet they will, to fall below the second apron again. And they might only crest over it for 1 year, which is going to allow them to keep this core together for the long term, if it's worth keeping it together for the long term. That is the difference between the Knicks and the Cavs, and that is why I say I think the pressure might be more on the Cavs in spite of Andrew's very well-articulated argument for why it should be the Knicks, because Cleveland right now is the most expensive team in the NBA. They are well over the second apron, and they're willing to spend. There's no question about that. But we have seen that if a team is not a title team, especially with the repeater tax, because this team has been a tax-paying team and is eventually going to have to pay a repeater tax, which is so unbelievably expensive in this new collective bargaining agreement that is going to tear apart teams. That's why we saw Boston lose Jason Tatum, say, okay, we're not contenders, tear this thing down, legitimately tear it down, ruin every other year moving forward because we cannot pay for this if it's not a contender. Teams cannot be that expensive if they are not good enough. And if the Cavs lose in the second round again, or maybe they play 2 bad teams because it's the East and they make the conference finals, but then they get their socks knocked off of them by the Knicks, which is a possibility because we saw the Knicks destroy them in a first round playoff series only a couple of years ago. if that's what happens, the Cavs might have to look at themselves and say, this isn't working. And all of a sudden the core is different. Like, they didn't necessarily have to be this expensive. Don't get me wrong. They've done a good job maneuvering their cap stuff. They're this expensive because they have a lot of good players. And they don't really have bad contracts. They've done a good job with this. This is just kind of a reality of the NBA and a reality of the new CBA, where it's like good teams will reach this point. But, Evan Mobley winning Defensive Player of the Year last year is something that is a really big deal for them because it knocked up his extension number to the Rose Rule. And so now he's making 30% of the cap instead of 25% of the cap.
It's a big deal.
And that's a big difference in their tax bill. That's something that's very different for them. So like, they are in I don't want to say they're in a financial crunch because their players are tradable. They're all good players and they're pretty much all on decent contracts. Strus is on a fine contract. Anybody would take Evan Mobley. Anybody would take Donovan Mitchell. Anybody would take Darius Garland. Anybody would take, Jared Allen. But they're really expensive and they are going to have to make decisions. And this is going to be this year is going to be nut cutting time. Either you have a championship team or at least an Eastern Conference winning team and you want to keep it together and it's worth the money, or crap, couldn't do it, tear this thing down. And I think this is the year that it's all or nothing for them in terms of this year. I think that's why it's kind of on them over the Knicks.
So that leaves me with the final choice. I'm going to head over to the Western Conference and take the Denver Nuggets. Because the Nuggets have this guy on their team who for 5 consecutive seasons has either won MVP or came runner-up in MVP. And during those 5 years, they won a title, which is great. But the last 2 years, they've been knocked out in the second round. I think there were reasons for that. The lack of depth on this team the last 2 seasons, where they have just had to push so hard at the end of the seasons, probably contributed to maybe that loss to the Wolves, where they blew a 20-point lead in Game 7 of that series. And then this year against the Thunder, again, just a complete lack of depth. And then you don't lose Aaron Gordon, but he pulls his hammy right before Game 7. This is a team that I feel like their window has been open now for a while. And I think when you have a player like Nikola Jokic, you got to come out of this window with another ring. Like he is good enough. This team should be good enough to get another ring. And I think that the championship could or should probably come down to who wins between a series of the Nuggets and the Thunder. I really do think those are the 2 best teams in the NBA. And so I think I don't want to say the first time since their championship, but I don't feel like the Nuggets have gotten as much hate for going out in the second round the last 2 years, because everyone kind of understood this roster just is not good enough. It just was not deep enough to make the kind of run they need to make. Now, with what they've done in the offseason, I feel like that excuse is out the window. They have the squad now, they have the roster depth now. There's no excuses. This team should be at minimum a conference finals team and should be right there with the Thunder in terms of making the finals out of the West. So I do think there is pressure on the Nuggets for what feels like the first time in a little while.
Yeah, and they also have they have David Adelman. I think that is helpful to not have the Michael Malone, Calvin Booth stuff going on behind the scenes.
To help.
I just wonder how big of an impact that made throughout the last regular season. They won 50 games, which is good, but that still, having Nikola Jokic, I think you can win more than 50 games no matter who's around him. So
Jokic should be on a 60-win team at some point in his career.
Yeah, I hadn't done it yet.
Hasn't done it
yet.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to round 3. Young player with the most pressure on them. I'm leading this one off. This is the one I chose, and I'm going to talk about a player that I probably talk about too much, and that is Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah,
who is entering his 4th season. His age, he's only 22. He just turned 22. Now, he's clearly a talented player, but it's unclear exactly how valuable of a player he's going to be, which is a big reason why he hasn't gotten extended yet. And this season is setting up as the defining season of his young career. The seeds have parted in Portland. Anthony Simons, the team's leading scorer the last 2 seasons, he's gone. We're still probably a year away from the Dame reunion tour. And so Shaedon has this opportunity, and I would say pressure, to take on a much bigger scoring load alongside Denny Avdia, and it just so happens to be the season before his restricted free agency. There's so much riding on this season for Shaedon Sharpe, both in terms of his future with the Blazers, but also his standing with the league. And I really do think he's a good player. He averaged just under 19 points per game last year. He had a very nice run to close the season. He's a great rim finisher. Converted 71% of his attempts at the rim last season, which is in the 92nd percentile among combo guards per clean the glass. He's got a nice mid-range game. He's obviously an explosive athlete. He's had numerous dunks this past season, but he's yet to find his shooting stroke from three. And I remember as a prospect, people just kind of talked about him like, oh my gosh, his shot is so smooth. Like, this guy's obviously going to be a three-point shooter. And it just hasn't happened yet. And if it does happen, he would have such a well-rounded offensive game. And you don't really have to squint that much to see the outline of a really dynamic offensive player. But he still has to put it all together. And he might not get a better opportunity than what is going to happen this year in Portland.
I love that.
I love that. Let's go to Andrew.
Okay. I've got Jaden Ivey on my list.
Jaden and Shaedon.
Jaden and
Jaden
Shaedon.
and Shaedon.
I've got Braden.
I'm trying to think if there is a Braden.
Is there a Braden?
I don't think there's ever been a Braden.
Oh, come on. There had to have been a Braden.
Come on.
There doesn't have to be a Braden.
I just thought
Not in the NBA. I don't think there's been a Braden in the NBA. Did you know Zach Randolph was the first Zach in NBA history?
Was he really?
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that shocking? There wasn't a Zach in the NBA until Zach Randolph. He was literally a trailblazer.
Fred, I have great news for you. There is a player from the class of 2025. So he's going to Arizona. He is signed with Arizona. He's the number 2 at his position, which I can't find his position, shooting guard. His name is Braden Burries. Burries.
Well, you know what? A lot of pressure to get up to number 1. And he's young.
12th overall, ESPN 100. So maybe a Braden is coming.
Okay. Well, I'm changing my answer. My answer for a young player is Braden. No. I'm still sticking with Jaden Ivey, who missed a lot of last season, only played 30 games. The Pistons are good now. They have an opportunity in the Eastern Conference to make a jump. And I think if Jaden Ivey is as good as he needs to be, I think that they can get even better. I just don't know that he's made the impact that people thought that he might coming out of the draft yet. And so I think that he needs to get better defensively is probably like the number one thing for him. I think if he can come back as a better defensive player, as good of an offensive player as he's been, like he shot the ball well. I think that he can score. I think that he's a good enough passer. He's a good enough secondary ball handler next to Cade. But if he can get better defensively, I think that he can really not only make a lot of money, but I think he can help the Pistons take a pretty big jump. So I'm going with Jaden Ivey. I think that he'll be under the microscope a little bit. He's up for a contract extension. I don't know that he's going to get it, before he becomes a restricted free agent. I think that's fair. I think it's very fair based on his play so far. But he's also a guy that has not exactly gotten a fair shake in the NBA so far. And so I hope that one, he gets like every opportunity that he needs to be successful this year. Because like the whole Monty Williams experience, I can't imagine what it would have been like to be Jaden Ivey during that. Where
you don't think he got a fair shake?
I mean,
having
Killian
to come
Hayes
off the bench behind Killian Hayes,
right? Exactly. Yeah, I just think that now's the time. I think he's going to get a fair shot. I hope he's healthy, and if he improves defensively, I think he's got a shot to be a guy that makes a lot of money and can help the Pistons.
All right, Fred, who is your young player who has tons
the Iron
of
Maiden.
pressure on them?
I've got I'm going. These are great answers. I went a little bit of a different direction. I kind of went with a young already, maybe not already star, but star from a fame perspective.
Okay.
Cooper Flagg. He's going to the organization that just traded away Luka.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately he is the Luka replacement. He basically has to be, from a public's eye, in order to save the Mavs image, he basically needs to be as good as Luka Doncic in order for the general public to think that everything is okay again. I understand that is a ridiculous statement. And I understand that is a ridiculous expectation. And I promise you, if Cooper Flagg is a 7-time All-Star and is not quite as good as Luka Doncic, I'm not going to be sitting here at the end of his career and saying anything other than Cooper Flagg is a great player who had an amazing career. However, that trade was met with such incredible scrutiny and deserved scrutiny that when they luck into the number 1 pick after all of that, and they end up with Cooper Flagg, that's just the reality of how the world works. And it's not Cooper Flagg's fault. And if he takes time to adjust, it's not necessarily fair, but that's pressure. Like, that is real pressure. Like, I'll say, filling in for a franchise legend and being the guy who is supposed to be the next one after the franchise legend, that is real pressure. You know, when Didi Gregorius came into shortstop the year after Derek Jeter retired to play shortstop for the Yankees, that was real pressure on Didi Gregorius. Like, he even talked about it openly about, like, you know, the real pressure that it was that you had to follow Derek Jeter. And this is like if the Yankees traded Derek Jeter to the Red Sox in the middle of their World Series runs. Like, it's just such a wild situation that I feel like the external pressure on Cooper Flagg is going to be so large, and he is clearly an incredible talent and seems to be very strong in the mind. And I anticipate he's just going to be an incredibly good player in spite of all of that pressure. But that's real pressure, I think, on a young person, like on a really young person. That is a lot to deal with.
Especially when your GM is telling everyone that your championship window is now. You know, like that was one of the fallouts from that trade too. Like, we have this 3-year window. It's like, all right, well, Cooper Flagg better be great from day one, kind of.
And the guards on his team currently: D'Angelo Russell, Jaden Hardy, Brandon Williams. I mean, they got Ryan Nembhard on a 2-way who looked good at times at Summer League. I mean, he's going to have to handle the ball a lot.
A ton.
And for a 6'10" forward, that's a tough job as a rookie, and a really young rookie at that. You know, he reclassified. Like, he's a very young rookie. I think that's a really good pick.
All right, round 4, front office under the most pressure. Andrew, I'll let you take this one to start us off.
It's got to be the Milwaukee Bucks.
The Milwaukee Bucks.
Not only do they have to find a way to make this team better with no assets, and they waived Dame, and now they have just very small ways to get better. And they're counting on guys like Ryan Rollins. Like, maybe Ryan Rollins needs to go on like the young player with pressure, just because like they need Ryan Rollins to be good, you know? At any moment, Giannis could call and just say, hey, it's over, you know? And I just feel like the moves that they've made are not going to be good enough. Now you're in the Eastern Conference. I still think they can win a lot of games if Giannis is healthy, but I just think that front office is under a ton of pressure. And it was proven through the moves they made this offseason. I mean, they made the moves that they made, the move they made in particular to get Miles Turner was one of the more desperate things I've ever seen in the NBA. And rightfully so. Like, they needed to do something. And it was creative, but it is something that they could be paying for. They will literally be paying for it. But as far as like team building, it's going to hurt them for a long time. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on that front office to kind of like figure out this, like for Cole Anthony to work, and for Gary Harris to be a guy that really helps them, and for Kyle Kuzma to wake back up. I mean, I just think that there's a lot of pressure on like the front office and the moves they've made to kind of work out, to show Giannis, like, you can trust us, kind of thing.
And their front office just got extended, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fred.
That was a really meaningful okay. There was a lot of you said a lot in that okay. The front office
Okay.
just got extended. Okay.
Fred,
Said a lot in that okay without saying anything.
who is your front office that's under a lot of pressure going into this season?
Milwaukee's a great pick. I am gonna pick the other front office that decided to waive and stretch a player making $55 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say the Phoenix Suns,
Oh,
who I don't really know what. I mean, first of all, they made a change already. They have James Jones is now out, but they didn't make a huge change. Brian Gregory, who was already there, is now the GM of the team. He hasn't been in the NBA very long. I think there's a lot of pressure on that organization. There's a lot of pressure on that front office from ownership. I think the expectations are still they're tempered from what they were in the past. I don't think Ishbia thinks that 26 other GMs wouldn't trade places with them anymore. But the expectations, as we saw from his tweet the other day, I'm just going to read his tweet.
please do.
He quote. So this is Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns. I'm just going to read the tweet. Alex can say, okay, I'm just going to read the tweet. So Burn City Sports tweeted out that ESPN's NBA insiders ranked the Phoenix Suns as one of the teams most likely to tumble in the upcoming 2025-26 NBA season. So Matt Ishbia quote tweeted this and responded by saying, I'm not worried about what the so-called experts think. They had us as a title contender the past 2 years and were wrong then. We're focused on making our fans proud by playing great as a team and building a brand of basketball that's tough and gritty. So, he says, I'm not going to analyze the tweet. Alex, would you like to?
It's very funny that you brought it up here because I actually had that as my wild card, but I think this is a great spot for it as well because it does feel like Matt Ishbia every couple of months is just giving us something good to chew on.
Yeah.
And that was a really good quote. Really good quote.
I can't. I don't understand the mindset of the first part of the tweet. I think it's so good. I'm not worried about what the so-called experts think. They had us as a title contender the past 2 years, and we're wrong then. In your face, everybody. We sucked, and you thought we were good.
You know what's the weirdest part of it? Absolutely no one had the Suns as a title contender last year.
Yeah, who did?
Like,
who would have
no
had
one
them as
did.
title contenders?
No one did. Everyone was like, the Suns got swept out of the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
There were a few people that were like, maybe a 4 seed. I felt like that was as high
Like
as
a dark horse.
I actually
contender.
picked the Suns to win a lot of regular season games last year. I thought they were going to win a lot of regular season games, and oh boy, was I epically wrong. I don't think anyone was like, oh man, this is the team that you wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was on that level. But when your owner is thinking that way, when your owner is making those kinds of changes, there is pressure on that front office. They made a move that is going to hamper, like waiving and stretching Bradley Beal, which was partly to avoid the second apron, and mostly just to save tax dollars. The Suns will contend that the reason that they waived and stretched Bradley Beal was strategic, and that they're trying to see if they can sign and trade for Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think that's going to end up happening. I don't think they're really going to end up being contenders there at all, even though they have attempted for it to happen. They just don't have anything to trade that the Warriors would want in a sign and trade. That waiving and stretching Bradley Beal would make them eligible for that kind of stuff. But they're not going to, in all likelihood, be able to do any of those things. And what waiving and stretching Bradley Beal is doing is it's putting an extra $19 million and change on their books through 2030. $19 million is like the delta between the tax and the second apron. So that means you can rebuild the next few years. And then you can get good again in like 2028 or 2029. And you might want to pay the tax because you have a team that's worth paying the tax for. But guess what? If you go into the tax with the players that are on your roster, you're like basically going to have to go into the second apron overall. And maybe that team's not worth the second apron, or maybe you're just going to be hurt too much by the restrictions of the second apron to justify it. It is so hard to build a team with that number on your books. I feel the same way about Milwaukee, which is why I like the pick for Andrew picking them. Like, it is so hard to build a team for the future. And when you have a team that is not a contender and you decide we are going to take this massive contract and just spread it in a still massive, but not as massive way over a bunch of years, as opposed to taking the hit now, when like they could have done more due diligence, I think, in terms of trying to at least get under the second apron. They weren't going to get under the first with the way their roster was set up, but I fully believe there is some way, like, you dump Royce O'Neal, you dump Nick Richards. Those guys fit into teams' MLEs. They fit into cap space when they exist. You use the protected picks that you got from Utah to maybe do it. And that just cleans everything out, and you're under the first apron, and you're under the second apron. You pay some tax dollars, and you're okay. But it's really tough. It is really, really tough to have that large of a cap hit on your books. It is really, really, really tough, and you are putting pressure on yourself. Like, it's just real tough.
Well, those both of those choices make a lot of sense. I'm going to go a little off the board here. I am still picking an NBA team, so it's not that off the board. But I'm going with the Utah Jazz. The Jazz,
I had them on my list.
They're going to be missing the playoffs for the fourth consecutive season this year.
Oh.
That will tie the longest playoff drought since the franchise moved to Utah in the 79-80 season. And this is no offense to the Kings, but this is not the Kings. Like, the Jazz and their fans have been used to being in the playoffs. They made the playoffs 31 of 39 seasons leading up to the season where they traded away Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And even though it's another year away, it feels inevitable as of right now that the Jazz are going to miss a fifth consecutive playoffs in the 26-27 season, given the youth and the talent level on this roster currently. And I'm picking the Jazz front office because they've had time at this point. We're entering year 4 of this front office, and it still feels like this team is miles away from contending again. This front office has had 7 first-round draft picks in just the last 3 drafts, and that doesn't include trading for rookie Walker Kessler or drafting Kyle Filipowski, who was an early second-rounder that is looking like one of their better prospects. I think the pressure is on this front office to identify and develop a young star. And that could happen this season with somebody already on the roster, like Ace Bailey, who they just drafted. Or it could happen in next year's draft, where the Jazz will inevitably be picking high. But it has to happen. You cannot go into year 5 of a rebuild next season and still not feel like there's at least one young player you'd bet your money on being a star. I mean, look at the most recent cycle of tanking teams, thinking about the Pistons, the Magic, the Rockets, and the Thunder. By year 4 of their tanks, those teams knew they had at least one guy, whether it was Cade or Franz Wagner, and then Paulo was a rookie in their 4th year of tanking, and then Alperen Şengün in Houston. Like, all these teams felt like by that point they at least had one guy who could feasibly make an all-star game. And I don't feel that way about the Jazz yet. And you might say, well, hey, what about Larry Markkinen? And he's great, obviously. You know, I hadn't mentioned Larry Markkinen yet. He's going to turn 30 before Ace Bailey turns 21. As great as he is, the future of the Jazz depends on these young players, and at least one of those young players popping in a big way. It has to happen soon. And this season or at next year's draft, the Jazz need to have a player that we all recognize has the ceiling that is needed to truly turn the ship around. Again, it might happen this year. We might, at the end of this year, might say, oh, Ace Bailey, future star. Like, this guy's awesome.
Ooh.
But it has to happen before year 5.
I have never heard somebody say someone's age that way. I've never heard somebody say he's going to be 30 before someone else turns another age. I've never said that. I genuinely, based on that statement, have no idea how old Larry Markkinen is. He might be 14. I have no idea. I don't have a clue. That did nothing for me. I'm sitting here thinking, all
for you?
right, well, how old's Ace Bailey? And going through, I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, a lot of times when people are talking about like upside of the Jazz, they'll immediately start talking about marketing.
No, I know
But
what you're
like,
saying.
it's going to be the
It's
young
great.
core that is on the next good Jazz team, and those guys are probably going to need to be like 23 or 24 before that's happening. And it just feels like we're so far away from that, especially if you don't have a young guy that you can identify as like a clear future star. Larry's great, obviously. He's great. He's going to be great into his 30s, okay? He's a wonderful player.
Can I
Yeah.
you
want to do another one?
I just want to read my Ace Bailey has my favorite quote in NBA history. Which he said
I know
on
what quote
draft
you're going to
night.
say, and it is a great quote.
It's the best quote. Somebody, because he didn't want to go. I just feel like if somebody brings up Ace Bailey, I have a responsibility as a human being to inform the rest of the world about this quote. But Ace Bailey obviously didn't want to go to Utah and didn't work out for them, and they drafted him anyway. And somebody on draft night asked him what he knew about Utah. And he said, I don't know a lot about Utah, but I'm learning as we go. I know it's cold and it's hot. It gets cold and it gets hot here. And that was
Okay,
it.
that was not the quote I thought you were going to say.
It's such a great quote. And he went on to say that, like, he's been in Jersey, or he went to school in Jersey, so he's been in the cold, so he could deal with that. And he's been in the South, so he can deal with the heat. And I'm like, it's the best quote ever.
I feel like he has already displayed a lot of upside as a quote machine, because I thought you were going to give the quote when he was asked about a strength and a weakness, and he said, I ain't got no weaknesses and I got more than 2 strengths, big dog. That is like such a baller quote. I love that quote.
That's a great quote. Come on, cold
now
and
I'm
hot.
really rooting
cold,
for him
what
to
a
be
what a
to be
phenomenal answer. It's also just like totally accurate. There are no fact errors. That's the best part of it. It absolutely is cold and hot in Utah, depending on the time of year.
It's true.
We need him to be good. I want him to be good.
Please.
He seems like a very good personality. Okay, our final round, Wildcard. Now, you can choose anything NBA related. You could choose a mascot who's under a lot of pressure this year. You could choose a coach. You could choose a role player. You could choose anything. So, Fred, I'm going to let you start us off here. What is your wildcard pick?
Yeah, so I said which role player is under the most pressure to no longer be a role player. And I kind of made up this category because he was the number 2 answer on my list for which young player is under the most pressure. And my answer is Amin Thompson, who I just love watching play basketball. He is extraordinary defensively. He does everything. He's one of the few wing defenders who actually changes other teams' shot selections. Like, he'll just cut off sides of the floor. He'll take away shots that normally happen but don't. You want to watch the most insane off-ball defense of any game played during the entire season last year? Go watch when they played Golden State. It must have been the end of March, and Ace Bailey and Amin Thompson guarded Steph Curry the whole time and just face guarded Steph Curry. And Curry took like 2 legitimate shots, with Thompson guarding him. It was extraordinary. Just didn't let him get the basketball. It was unbelievable. But the Rockets made a real statement without making a statement, right? They trade for Kevin Durant. Last year, Houston was a joy to watch, play crazy hard, really physical, incredibly fundamental, great transition defense, great half-court defense. They have these wings who are just maniacs and unbelievable size, and they play these quirky lineups with double bigs, and you know, Jabari Smith is going to play the 3 at points this year, I'm sure, and it's just these ginormous, hard-playing, physical teams that can go both ways. But they lose to Golden State last year, right? As a 2 seed. And nobody cares. And that's the way it should have been. because they were a young team that was their step. That was their first step, and they shouldn't get knocked just because they lost to a team that's won 4 titles that had a worse record than them when they outperformed expectations during the regular season, and they have a real chance to do this. But that organization, like I said, made a statement without making a statement by trading for Kevin Durant. You don't trade for a 37-year-old superstar if you don't think that you've got the roster to be able to compete right now. And that wasn't the only move they make. They had the Quinn Capella acquisition. They signed Dorian Finney-Smith. And Amin Thompson has the potential to be a real star. That guy is active everywhere. He is a good passer. He can rebound. He can score around the rim. The only thing with him is the shooting. That guy has the potential to be an actual two-way star, not a very good player, not a couple times all-star. I think his ceiling is so high that we can't even see it. I love that guy's game. And if they can get an unbelievable complimentary performance from him, then all of a sudden Houston is like, oh my goodness, you've got KD, who I guess is just never going to age ever. I guess he's just going to average a super efficient 25 until the end of time. And you've got Şengün, who's already an all-star. And now you've got this two-way abject monster. And I think Thompson can do it without adding a jumper. People concentrate on the jumper so much. I think he could just get better at the offensive skills he's already really good at, which is transition and off the dribble, finishing around the rim, his passing. Like there are ways that he can get there and just be a 20 and 8 and 5 guy and get there without it, with as good defense as anybody else is going to play in the league. He's capable of making that jump. I'm really excited to watch him this year. And I'm really excited to watch that team. I think they could be really fun. And he approaches basketball in such a tenacious way. Like, I kind of think he's going to do it. Like, I kind of think we're going to see that from him. Maybe not this year, but maybe this year. Certainly by next year. But I'm very excited. I'm very excited to watch him this season. He is a joy to watch on a basketball court.
That's a great choice. I also love Amin Thompson. I feel like everyone loves Amin Thompson. Who doesn't like Amin
It's
Thompson?
a requirement for NBA podcasters.
Both Thompsons.
Yeah.
They're both
agreed.
They're both just they both just play the way they play is, I mean, how competitive is that family? Like the way both those guys play, they are so competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
Andrew, who is your wild card pick?
The Pelicans are going to have what I think is a pretty rough season.
Why do you say that?
I just don't think they're going to be very good in the Western Conference. I think we're going to get to around January, the beginning of January, and it's going to feel a little hopeless.
I would say November, but go ahead.
Listen, where's this team going? What's going to happen? And around the 4th, 5th, 6th, they're going to announce again the return of King Cake Baby. And this year, King Cake Baby's really got to deliver a big performance because I don't think the team on the court is going to do it for the city of New Orleans.
Yes.
Okay?
Preach.
So this giant baby with man arms and man legs has got to step up for the city of New Orleans and deliver the performance of a lifetime. He's got to creep us out on social media. He's got to make people feel uncomfortable on the front row at the Smoothie King Arena. It's time for King Cake Baby to really take this pressure on and deliver the performance that we know he can do. So King Cake Baby is my answer.
It's a great pick. And I would say they need to go even further because they're really going to have to entertain the fans this year. Bring back the original Pierre. The original Pierre the Pelican.
Just go all creepy.
Yes. Give me some kind of ongoing storyline with the two Pierres that goes throughout the season that I can follow and track. I would love that.
Yeah.
Just have the original Pierre just constantly creeping on new Pierre.
All setting up a final battle in a March game that will be meaningless.
No. In March, new Pierre files an HR complaint against old Pierre.
No.
And that's the real drama. It's the real drama.
That's a great pick, Andrew. For my pick of the wild card, I'm going with the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. Are they going to screw up inside the NBA? Let's find out. I just think this. Okay, so like we know a few things. One, we know that Countdown isn't going away. Countdown still exists as a show.
Yeah.
We also know that inside the NBA is probably not going to have like where they can do anything and go for any amount of time like it felt like they could after games on TNT. As of right now, the reporting is that they're going to get a 30-minute time slot after some games that will lead into Scott Van Pelt. I just have a feeling people are not going to be happy with the way that ESPN handles inside the NBA. And meanwhile, we're still going to be watching Countdown at a time when there's going to be new competition because NBC Peacock is coming in, and I think they have the potential to make ESPN's Countdown show look even worse this season by comparison. And so I feel like ESPN's under a lot of pressure where they brought in this big property that everyone seems to like. Everyone liked the way it was, and now they're going to try to shoehorn it in to the ESPN programming. I'm just not positive it's going to work, but whether it works or not, they are clearly under a ton of pressure to get this right, or people are going to go insane.
Yeah.
I love that pick. What a great pick. Barkley's already out there being like, yeah, we did a trial run. It was a disaster.
Well,
like,
the thing
Barkley
he said
literally came out. God, he kills me. He kills me. He comes out and he just says, yeah, we did a trial one. It was the worst thing we've ever.
I like the quote about like they just signed him to a 7-year deal and he was like, yeah, I'll probably retire after 2. Like, before it's even
said he's going to retire so many times. Also, I want to throw out, I'm going to make a bold prediction while we're at it.
Yeah.
I think people are going to, just throwing it out there, I think people are going to love the Amazon product.
Yeah.
That's my,
I forgot to even mention the Amazon product.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because Amazon, I feel like Blake Griffin is going to be a megastar in media.
He's going to
And
crush it.
also think Dirk Nowitzki is going to be fantastic.
100%.
Everyone loves Dirk.
Those are two of the most genuinely likable and genuinely funny players the league has ever had. And they're smart. Like, those guys are genuinely really funny people and extremely charismatic. That is going to be a good product. They got Brent Barry, who people might not remember when Brent Barry was, because he was with the Spurs for a long time and he was with the Suns this past season. But Brent Barry, when he was on TNT, I don't know if there was a better in-game commentator in the entire league than Brent Barry. He is fantastic as an in-game commentator. Stan Van Gundy is awesome. Like, they got real people, and they got basketball people. And from what I've heard, their whole thing is like, they're going to be like, we're going to talk about basketball. And nobody has said to me, well, ESPN doesn't talk about basketball. But I think the implication is like,
right,
the current product doesn't really talk about basketball. We're actually going to talk about the basketball. Like, we're going to talk about this stuff. So I'm excited for the Amazon stuff. And I agree. I think the NBC Peacock stuff could be good too. I think it might be good for the league, honestly. They might end up being happy with this decision.
The thing you said about likability, I think that's so important because it's true with podcasts, and I think it's true with these kind of studio shows. Like, if you're going to tune in and hang out with people, you want to hang out with people that you like. And like, that has always been my issue with Countdown. It's like, I just don't want to hang out with Stephen A. Smith and Bob Myers before an NBA game. That is not appealing to me at all. But I'd love to hang out with Blake Griffin and Dirk. That sounds like a blast. I don't even care what they're talking about. I just like those guys. And so I would want to hang out with them. So yeah, I do think that will matter. Okay, so in summary, we did star player, contender, young player, front office, and then wild card. So Fred has Trae Young, Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland? Cooper Flagg, the Phoenix Suns, and Amen Thompson. Andrew has Donovan Mitchell, the New York Knicks, Jaden Ivey, the Milwaukee Bucks, and King Cake Baby. And I have Ja Morant, the Denver Nuggets, Shaedon Sharpe, the Utah Jazz, and ESPN.
Is there a halftime act that's under serious pressure to be the best now that Red Banda tore her ACL?
That's a great question.
Who's the guy who climbs on the stairs? Amazing Slodek?
Is that his name?
Yeah, I think it's the Amazing Slodek. The Amazing Slodek is someone. You got to have real confidence to deem yourself the amazing.
I think, now what about Christian and Scooby?
I was going to say Christian and Scooby. I think
I feel like this is a big moment for Scooby.
There's
that
some
the dog
pressure on
one?
Scooby.
That's the Chihuahua. And I'm
There's
talking about
real-
him specifically, all right?
There's a lot
Christian's
of
got
pressure
his
on
stuff
Scooby.
on lock, but Scooby's got to come through this season.
100%.
That's
Give me
true.
something new, Scoobs.
Come on,
Ma-
Scoob.
Montel Jordan really has to kill his rendition of his 190s hit.
Is he still doing halftime shows?
There was a year when he was doing all the halftime shows, like 2 years ago, and it was Montel Jordan. I saw Montel Jordan live probably 5 times throughout the NBA season.
Wow. Wow.
Honestly, I'll be honest. I loved every single one of them.
Wow.
Normally at halftime, get up from my seat, maybe go see a friend who's at the game, get a coffee. Didn't get up from Montel Jordan. Went to
wow,
watch that.
seriously.
Hey, thanks for being honest.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I know most people would lie about where they go when Montel Jordan performs a halftime show. I know most people try to keep that private, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna open up about this and say that I watch them and enjoy them.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some trivia. And we're back after that quick break. I'm going to turn it back over to Al, who is going to torture us with some trivia.
I don't think you're going to find this week too torturous. I think you're going to find it cute and furry. Okay.
Oh, no.
It's Andrew versus the Beat, a weekly game show where Andrew goes head to head against a beat writer or a national writer, in this case, Fred Katz. And in honor of Fred Katz being here, I've come up with 8 questions that are all about the NBA and cats in some form, the animal.
Wow.
Yes, CATS.
Okay.
So you'll get a feel.
I'm allergic to
once you get
cats.
going. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. They're great. They're so cute, especially kittens. So cute, but can't get near them. They'd kill me. They're death machines.
Yep.
All right. So Fred,
The
to
large
start,
ones.
the large ones especially.
They're
Fred.
death machines.
I need you to pick a number between 1 and 8.
6.
Question number 6. The NBA is the only one of the 4 major professional sports leagues in America to not have a team named after a cat. Across the NFL, MLB, and NHL, how many teams total are named after cats? Now you get to choose who answers first. So you can make Andrew answer first, and then you can go higher or lower, or you can answer first.
Right. Are we playing Price is Right rules?
It won't matter.
I guess
You
that's
just wanna be-
true.
You just want to be closer. Either side is fine.
I guess that's true with the higher or lower thing. Then it.
But
pretty
thank you
much
for asking.
defeats- Sorry, I used to intern for Bob Barker, so I get, it's hard for me to deviate from format I'm so used to. I'm going to let Andrew answer first.
All right, Andrew. So this is the total number of teams across the NFL, MLB, and NHL who are named after cats.
Okay. I'll say 6.
All right, Fred, would you like to go higher or lower?
All right. We're including like large African cats, right? Like the Detroit Lions count. Right?
Oh, only
Yeah.
house cats.
Yeah, only us cats. Yeah. Yeah, I love the Nashville Siamese. They're great.
The Nashville Tabbies. Yes,
I
we're doing
can't-
big cats.
There are certain names that I could never name my children
Mhm.
because of my last name. Like I could never name my kid. If I had a
that's true.
son, I could never name my kid Robert because then he'd
Calico.
be Bobcats. Yeah.
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
Name, couldn't name a kid,
Calico.
a daughter Allison because then she'd be
Alley
Alley
cat.
Cats.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Doesn't work.
Oh.
I'm gonna say higher.
Okay, well, thanks for all that because Andrew got it exactly correct at 6.
Yes.
Yes. Wow, which means he gets a
Collusion.
bonus point. The teams: Cincinnati Bengals, Carolina Panthers, Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers, and the Florida Panthers. Now, the Nashville
Nice.
Predators are technically a cat, but it's not in the name, so they don't count. Okay, Andrew, board is yours.
Number 1.
Question number 1. The Broadway cast of the musical Katz performed at the 1998 All-Star Game halftime show. We're going to name all the players who played in the 1998 All-Star Game. So how this works, we'll go back and forth. Andrew will give me a name, then Fred will give me a name. I'm just looking for 1998 All-Stars. They had to have played in the game, which everyone who went to the game played, from what I could tell. So I don't think you'll get screwed by a name.
Okay.
Okay.
1998 NBA All-Star Game. Michael
Yes.
Jordan.
Great. Great guess, Andrew. All right, Fred.
98 was Kobe's. Kobe made it that year. Kobe made it.
He
that
sure
year.
did.
That was his
Andrew.
first All-Star game. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Karl Malone.
Karl Malone did make it. Fred.
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett. Correct. Andrew?
Shaq.
Shaq. You guys are doing great. You're cleaning up the Western Conference. Fred.
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan. Correct. Andrew?
Penny Hardaway.
Penny Hardaway. Correct. Fred.
I wouldn't have gotten Penny Hardaway. Reggie Miller. That
Reggie
sound
Miller.
effect I made was probably really good for podcasting.
Yeah, clip
I should
that.
probably keep doing
Clip
that.
that.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be our short. It's just Fred making that sound.
Andrew.
Jason Kidd.
Jason Kidd. That is correct. Now, as a reminder, I'm not going to read back the names to you. So you have to remember, if you say a name that's already been said, you're donezo, bozo.
Oh, wow.
All right, Fred.
Gary Payton?
Yes, Gary Payton, the glove. All right, Andrew.
The glove.
The glove.
Can I tell a quick Gary Payton story?
Sure.
So when I was covering the Wizards, Gary Payton II was on the Wizards,
Mhm.
and his nickname is the Mitten because his dad was the Glove. And I always loved that nickname. I thought it was great. And I mentioned that to Gary Payton II, and he told me that he actually hated the nickname the Mitten. I asked him why, and he was like, he basically said it's like too derivative. Like he's like, it's too tied to his dad. He's like, I want to be my own player. He's like, I want to be I'm a good player. I want to be known as like my own player. I don't want to be known as like a product of my dad. I want to be known as my own guy. And I was like, okay, fine. What's the nickname you want? Tell me, and I will write Gary Payton II wants this nickname. And he thinks about it, and he looks all pensive, and he looks at me and says, the Big Mitten. I was like, that still has all the problems that you just said.
The Big Mitten.
I have terrible news for him because the only other nickname on Basketball Reference other than the Mitten is Young Glove, which unfortunately is derivative as well.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Wow.
98 All-Stars.
Sean Kemp.
Sean Kemp. Yes, indeed. Fred Katz. Meow.
Oh, David Robinson. David Robinson.
David Robinson. The Admiral. Andrew.
The Admiral. What about Grant Hill?
Yeah, Grant Hill. Great guess. Fred.
All right. Now we're at the point where I'm like,
It's getting dicey.
it's getting dicey. I'm gonna throw a lot of good centers in 98. So we already said Shaq. We already said David Robinson. We already said Duncan. Dikembe Mutombo.
Yes, Fred. Dikembe Mutombo. All right, Andrew.
Oh boy.
This is tough.
You guys
What
are doing
about-
great. You're doing
What about
great.
Tim Hardaway?
Yeah, Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway Sr. Fred Katz. Back to you. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 names remaining.
Man, that's a lot of all-stars who I'm struggling to think of.
Yeah, it is.
Mitch Richmond.
Mitch Richmond is correct. All right.
Wow.
Andrew.
Alonzo Mourning?
Alonzo Mourning? That is incorrect, which means Fred gets the point.
Wow.
Wow. The other names: Eddie Jones, Vin Baker, Nick Van Exel, Rick Spitz, Jason Williams, Glenn Rice, Steve Smith, and Antoine Walker.
Wow.
Wow is right.
Steve Smith is an underrated commentator.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good.
I like him.
He's good. He's underrated
like him.
and underused, in my opinion. I like him.
All right, Fred, what is yours?
2.
Question number 2. Okay, so a listener, a Slam and Jam listener, made a Blue Sky account just to reach out to me a couple months ago. Their handle is OFFwoman. I don't know what that means. They
OnlyFans woman?
No. Maybe. They were researching.
Basically, somebody DM'd you on your OnlyFans account.
It was one of those bot accounts, and we just started talking about basketball. Okay, so this listener reached
woman
out.
named Grok messaged me.
They reached out. They were researching one of the Suns' new additions this season, Nigel Hayes Davis. And this was the last sentence in his Wikipedia page. Quote, Hayes Davis has a very well-known cat in the basketball community, and the name of the cat is blank. What is Nigel Hayes Davis's cat's name? Now, to help you out, I'm going to give you 3 clues. You ready for this?
Yes.
The cat's name is the same as the first name of the main character from a PlayStation 3D platformer series. It is the same as the first word of a late 60s, early 70s band that blended funk, rock, pop, and psychedelia.
What?
And the cat's name is the same as the nickname of an 80s and 90s movie star. So you've got 3 clues there.
Oh, God. Honestly, the clues could not be less helpful. Just
when you hear what the answers are, you're going to feel like an idiot. I'm just letting you know.
I already feel like an idiot.
Well, you're going to feel worse.
Couldn't feel worse. You have no idea what goes on in my brain. Always feel the worst possible thing.
Do you want me to repeat any?
Not even wearing deodorant. That's how terrible I feel right now. Okay. I am gonna say the cat's name is
I'm gonna say the cat's
Leslie.
name.
After Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, okay. That's his nickname? I feel like that's just his first name.
No, it's Leslie.
Wrong. Andrew.
Tom.
Oh my gosh. Okay. First name of the main character from a PlayStation 3D platform.
Imagine a 70s funk band named Leslie or Tom. You guys go see Tom last night?
Now, if I had said, so I actually thought those clues were too easy. I was going to make the third one this. You tell me if this would have helped you. The nickname of an 80s and 90s action movie star. Anything?
Arnold.
It would be Sly, as in Sly Stallone, Sly and the Family Stone, the band, and Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. You guys big Sly Cooper heads?
No.
That one I don't know. The others,
really?
Of course.
Okay, so most people, I would agree, Ratchet and Clank, #1, PlayStation 3D platformer. A lot of people are going to put Jack and Daxter too, but I'm saying Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. He's a raccoon who's a thief. What do you think about that ranking? Okay, neither of you got that. Andrew, board is yours.
3.
In January 2025, Candace Buckner wrote an article about this NBA player who was, quote, recruiting new members for his secret society of NBA cat dads. Who is the player?
What year was it, did you say?
January 2025, the article came out.
January 2025. Candace Buckner. Is this Bub Carrington? I don't know.
No. Fred?
I should know this because I
You
read
really
a lot
should.
of Candace's article. And it seems very much like a Robin Lopez thing. But I feel like I would have heard about it if it were a Robin Lopez. So I'm just gonna guess. Yeah, I'm gonna guess Robin Lopez.
So Andrew was on the right track because Candace Buckner writes for the Washington Post. It was a Washington Wizard, an outgoing Washington Wizard, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's funny.
Pretty cool. Okay, no points. Fred, board is yours.
7.
Question number. Okay, I got to get my phone out for this one. All right, are you ready? This question is going to have a timer on it. You will have 15 seconds to answer. Ready?
Yeah.
To get the points for this question, all you have to do is come up with a pun for an NBA player's name that involves something related to cats. Go.
Providence star Lion Goings.
Wait,
Like
Providence-
Ryan Goings.
who?
Ryan Goings.
Who's Ryan Goings? Are you saying Ryan Gomes?
Ryan Gomes. What am I? Oh my God, Goings. That's not a name. Ryan Gomes. Lion Gomes. Ryan Goings.
No, you're not getting that. Also, why'd you start out with Providence Star?
Because that was when he was at his best. He's the assistant coach now.
You don't even know him. You don't even know his last name.
Oh my God.
Ryan Goings?
What was
That's,
All right.
That's like a true like senile moment right there. Like that's what my parents do with pop culture people, you know? Like that's how I know I'm really becoming old. Like that's what my dad does with movie stars.
Man,
Like,
I
he
thought
just
that
knows
would be
Paul
a layup for
Giamatti.
you.
I know.
That
the
should have
pun
been a
master.
layup. That should have been a layup.
Andrew, 15
you know what?
seconds
I
on the
got-
board. Starting now.
Man, the Bulls really spit out Alonzo Hairball this summer to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hairball, cats
Okay.
spit out hairballs.
Yeah, okay.
All
Now, this was a question that was asked on Reddit 5 years ago by user Galaxy41. These were some of the names they came up with. Kevin Perrant, Carmelo Anthony,
Carmialo.
Kawhi Leopard, Lion Williamson, Chris Paw George, Kyrie Purving, and Dirk Nowiskers.
Dirk Nowiskers.
All right.
Dirk Nowiskers is a good cat name.
They
Yeah,
didn't
that's a
have
really good one.
they didn't have Lion Goings.
Providence
Okay.
star Lion Goings?
Okay. Here's can I just say one thing?
What?
Okay. There is a reason why I said Ryan Goings. Because Ryan Goings was a person and my wires got crossed. Ryan Goings was the second baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I forgot the name Blue Jays. I had to
Jeez.
slow down and think about it. Losing my
I'd stop
mind.
while you're ahead. He's currently playing for the Gwinnett
I'm not ahead.
Strikers.
Am I
in
ahead? How am I
Mexico.
ahead? I feel like
No, you're
I feel
behind.
like yeah. I feel like that had to be minus 4.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Okay, Andrew, board is yours.
4.
4. Karl Anthony Towns, a.k.a. Cat, is one of the best shooting big men of all time. He took 338 three-pointers last season. Among players who are listed at 6'10 or taller, there are only 2 other Knicks who have ever taken that many threes in a season. Who are they? And you get 1 point per correct answer. So we're talking total 3 attempts. New York Knicks, 6'10 or taller.
Wow. That's a good question. Goodness. Was Steve Novak that tall? Steve Novak?
Woo! Oh, that's 1 point, Andrew. Can you get the other name? Fred was really mad about that one.
Yeah, that was the because I can't think of a second, but Novak was the first guy who came to mind. Tallest player in NBA history who never dunked.
Really?
He never dunked?
It's a good stat.
Never dunked in a game. He's the tallest player in NBA history not to dunk in a game.
Wow.
Or at least
That's
since
wild.
they started tracking dunks, whatever year that was.
What about Bargnani?
No. Fred, can you throw out another name? Any guesses? I really should know if Julius Randle is 6'10 or 6'9. A couple years ago, he averaged 8 threes a game. 3 years ago, he averaged 8 threes a game, and I'm just trying to remember. I'm going to say Julius Randle, but I think he's 6'9. He is 6'9", unfortunately. I thought the one that would trip you guys up is Kristaps because he did get very close, but he only he only shot 314. The other name is a guy who you don't think of as being 6'10", but he is, and it is Danilo Gallinari. Gallo. All right, Fred, you still have time to tie this up.
8.
8. There are 28 players in the NBA who formerly played for the Kentucky Wildcats. Among those players, Anthony Davis is unsurprisingly number 1 in career points. So these are active players in the NBA. Who is number 2? So these are active players in the NBA who played for Kentucky. Who is number 2 in career points behind Anthony Davis? So there's obviously a lot of names.
My mind
28.
is going to Julius Randle once again. Career points. Kentucky. Could be Randle. I don't think Shea has played for long enough. I don't know why I'm thinking out loud and potentially giving answers to Andrew when
good strategy.
It's a really, really poor strategy, but I'm not really about strategies on this. I'm just about, just about integrity.
Vibes. Sounds like vibes. The way you answered Ryan Goins.
I'm all about vibes. Yeah, I think it might be Ryan, but Ryan Goings went to Providence, so it couldn't be him. So I'm gonna. Julius Randle's been around for a minute now. He's averaged 20 a lot. Plays in a lot of games. Doesn't really get hurt that often.
Are you talking yourself into it?
He's talking himself into it. It's exactly what's happening.
I think I am. John Wall just retired. I think I'm going to go Julius Randle.
Fred did all of that just so you wouldn't think he was dumb when I told him, no, that's the wrong answer. He let you know how smart of an answer it was. I mean, he's done all this. He's been in the league a long time. Andrew, any guesses?
Man. That's funny. What about Jamal Murray?
Also wrong. It is Devin Booker.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah. That does make sense, but he still feels really young.
Yeah, he does.
But he's been in the league, so he's got a baby face. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Andrew, you get first stab at the final question.
Mm-hmm.
At the 1998 Nickelodeon's Kid Choice Awards, the basketball-playing dog Air Bud lost the award for favorite animal star to the cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. What was that cat's name?
I have no idea what the name of this cat is.
Okay. You can guess, but Fred is raising his hand. I think he knows the answer.
Tom.
Guess Tom again.
Come
Fred,
back to the Tom well.
Where were the witch trials?
there you go, Andrew.
Salem.
Hint. Salem.
Oh.
Woo! And that brings Fred to 2 points. Final score,
yeah.
4-2. Congrats, Andrew.
Oh, go read Fred at The Athletic. Go subscribe to the Katz and Shoot podcast. It's a very fun podcast that you can listen to. It's about the Knicks, but you also learn a lot about the league in general. Worth the subscription. Go check it out today. Fred, thanks so much for coming on. Be sure to tune in. We are back after. If you haven't listened to the Basketball 100 podcast series, please go do that. It's a very fun series. It's evergreen. You can always go back to it. I thought it was really, really, really good. Next week, we're doing team previews on the Athletic NBA Daily feed. So we start with team previews on Tuesday. We will do, starting next week, we'll have 2 shows. That will be team previews. But then after that, it will be 3 days a week until the season starts before we do like our real season preview. So we'll have a beat writer for every single team in the league on this feed talking about their team. So please be sure to tune in, check it out. Looking forward to hearing from everybody. It's going to be great to get everybody back. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.